So now that Apple has announced their surprise Mac event on the 30th of October, we have a ton of leaks coming left, right and center regarding what to expect, and there are certainly some surprises. Let's begin with the newest leak so far, which is an image of the alleged box for the new MacBook Pros. Now this is pretty boring as far as leaks go because it's just a picture of a box, but at least it proves to us that, as expected, there will be no redesign here. I'll get into the internal upgrades later in the video, but I'm still surprised we're actually getting new higher-end MacBook Pros. Now the wallpaper itself is kinda mid, I can't lie. Apple stock wallpapers have continually been getting worse, but it's also just a wallpaper on a box that you might chuck away at the end of the day, so who cares? And while this does match the theme of the invite, so I do think it's legit. And by the way, would like to remind you guys, like this video and subscribe for more content like this, it would be appreciated. But enough about a bloody box, let's now talk about what Mr. Gurman has told us, the Apple guru himself. So he had previously pointed out the 24-inch iMac and the base and higher-end MacBook Pros are in short supply right now. Most configurations are not available till mid-November, and so long shipping delays usually mean brand new shiny Macs are on the way, guys. Beginning with the iMac refresh, it's about time this poor thing gets some sort of update. Right now this is the only machine still using M1 and it's been neglected for over 2 years. So I'm glad we're finally getting a new iMac. Also, some of you might remember this, but we did get leaked images of new colourful braided USB-C cables that we thought would come to iPhone 15, but no, they came with boring white cables instead. And so this might have been for the new iMac all along, considering the iMac right now does have very colourful cables, and the new model should introduce some new colours. What's interesting here is that one of the new colours is black, so does that mean we're getting an iMac with black bezels? Maybe? And I can't lie, that would look pretty sweet. Not only this, but some have also pointed out this iMac refresh is the perfect opportunity for Apple to kill Lightning for good and switch the Magic Keyboard, mouse and trackpad to the USB-C port, and that also makes sense. Now, I was expecting this to be a pretty boring refresh overall with a possible upgrade to the not-so-new M2, which was basically an M1S. However, Gurman more excitingly suggesting we could see the base M3 chipset in this iMac, which gets me tingling everywhere. We know M3 is going to be based on the 3nm process, and so it should be a much bigger jump from M1 performance-wise. He also says the stand's internal design is going to be tweaked, but there's not going to be any other design changes apart from that, with the colors even being similar according to Gurman. Now that does go against the new cables that have leaked that clearly show some new colors, and personally, I know I shouldn't doubt the GOAT of Apple leaks, but I think it makes way too much sense for Apple to introduce new colors to this iMac because when the design isn't changing, the colors are really the only way this new iMac can stand out as a new model. But now I do understand why they're having a virtual event again without media there because, let's be honest, what exactly can they test? These Macs are going to look identical from the outside, and to truly understand the improvements of M3 you have to use it long term, so a hands-on area is kinda pointless. Anyways, alongside the iMac it seems, the base MacBook Pro is gonna get the M3 chipset, which means it finally has a purpose for now in Apple's range. You see, I've been ranting for a while that we don't need this Mac anymore because, simply put, we have a ridiculously powerful MacBook Air that chews through 4K content without breaking a sweat, and so there is no reason to have a Pro variant alongside it when the Air already is kind of a Pro machine. However, Gurman explicitly says M3 is not coming to the MacBook Airs till 2024, so at least for now, if you want the base level M3 in a MacBook, that base 13-inch is going to be the one to get. Now, if you're wondering why Apple's not chucking these new chips into their more popular machines immediately, it's because of two reasons, in my opinion. Number one, we know the yield rate for these 3nm chips is not too great. It's something like 55%, which is pretty bad, guys. They clearly can't produce a ton of these, and so putting them in the less popular Macs for now makes sense, and once production stabilizes, they can then chuck them into the MacBook Airs. Also, the second reason is that Apple had just introduced the 15-inch MacBook Air in June. It's only a few months old at this point, and if Apple introduced a new model this soon that's way better, that would piss off a lot of consumers, and so updating both a 13-inch and 15-inch Air next year does make sense. But now let's get into the more interesting part of Gurman's report, which is the higher-end MacBook Pro being refreshed. So we've already seen new MacBook Pros with M2 Max and M2 Pro chipsets in Jan, but Gurman seems to be suggesting we could see M3 Pro and M3 Max MacBooks at this event, which is crazy. Now obviously we've now seen evidence of this with the leaked image of the box for the new models, but I still can't believe we're getting 2 MacBook Pro refreshes within a year. What is going on? His reasoning is that the M2 Pro and Max models were supposed to release last October but were pushed back to Jan for various reasons, but if Apple had stuck to their original plan, this new model would be coming out a year later, so I guess that makes sense? Still, I kind of feel bad for those who recently bought a 14-inch or 16-inch MacBook Pro, but Apple has done similar things in the past. Some might remember in 2019 how we got a new 15-inch MacBook Pro early in the year, only for it to be replaced by a completely revamped 16-inch, which was arguably one of the best Intel Macs ever made. I guess this won't be as bad because there's really only going to be 2 changes with this new MacBook. Number 1 will be the new chips, of course. Gurman says they can have up to 16 CPU cores and up to 40 GPU cores. Wow, that's a lot of cores. But also, number 2, we did get a sketchy report from Digitimes claiming we could see new MacBooks with more efficient mini LED panels. So that could be something else Apple highlights. Though, to be fair, it's such a minor thing most won't care or notice. Digitimes says nothing about higher brightness, they just say the display's more efficient, so it can now output the same brightness whilst using less power, which I guess is nice, but I doubt it's gonna make a huge difference battery-wise. And that's really it for the changes. It would be nice if we got some new colors, but I doubt it since Apple thinks pros only want different shades of grey. Gurman does tell us mass production for these new MacBooks are underway and he seems most confident about these releasing at the event. By the way, if you're hoping for updates to the Mac Mini, the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro, Gurman confirms those won't be updated just yet, which makes sense considering most of those desktops were refreshed as recently as June. Now I do want to move on to what Quo tells us because, for one, Mr. Quo is a cheeky bugger. The man quietly backtracks on a claim he made just last week about no new Macs coming out for the rest of the year. He now conveniently sides with Gurman and says, "Oh, I was lying, I knew M3 Macs were coming," and he specifically believes M3 series MacBook Pros are launching, so that's likely referring to the 14-inch, 16-inch, and 13-inch, but weirdly he says nothing about the new iMac. Anyways, he continues to say that previously he had thought there would be no new Macs because of limited shipments this year, and that's still very much going to be the case. He expects less than 400,000 to 500,000 shipments, so if you plan to buy any of these new Macs, make sure to order them ASAP because Apple might not have a ton of these lying around. This lines up with what we heard about M3 in the past, and the fact 3nm chips are in very tight supply right now. Quo also says that Apple believes demand has been low for new Macs because of M2, which is why they're racing to get M3 out even when production capacity is low, and I guess that makes sense. M2 wasn't a big upgrade over M1, and so Apple's done with them, and they're swiftly moving to M3 because it should bring big updates performance and efficiency wise. Now yes, the A17 Pro was 3nm, and was sort of disappointing, but unlike iPhone sales, Mac sales have not been very good in recent times, so they've got to do everything to entice consumers. The competition is also heating up, and so yes, I think they're gonna push the envelope with M3 and we can expect substantial updates. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.